Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. As we know, authors find inspiration from wherever it is that they are, from their environment and from all those around them. And other authors, while they find that inspiration, they try to inspire. And they write books to uplift spirits, to try to give hope to those who may not have hope, to help ease the pain of those people who are around them when all they have is pain. Sheryl Ann Wilson, she actually suffers from fibromyalgia, and she knows the world of fibromyalgia, that this is a group of people that suffer from pain, a chronic pain that is so great that it disturbs sleep, and it debilitates those who suffer from it in ways that we who do not have it may not actually understand. They have wavering days where some days they feel really good and they are full of energy, and then other days where they can barely get out of bed. And for the person who doesn't suffer from fibromyalgia, looking from the outside, thinks, oh, they don't really suffer from pain, it's all in their head. And we become discriminating and things that are not so kind to those who suffer from chronic conditions that may at times seem invisible to us. But Sheryl Ann Wilson, she was able to write a book. She has published it and it is on Amazon. So I'm going to invite everyone at this point to go look for her book, and it is called Blue Highway Sunshine. Root Spring, a daily reader for those with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So go to Amazon and look for Sheryl Ann Wilson with the Blue Highway Route for inspirational reading. All right, so let's go ahead with her interview and listen to what she has to say about fibromyalgia and how it has affected her life and those around her. Five, four, three, two. Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with Sheryl Ann Wilson, and she's a Canadian-born Métis woman with fibromyalgia, and along with that, the disabilities that go along with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. Sheryl Ann also wrote a book. It's called The Blue Highway Sunshine Route, and summer daily reader for those with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So, Sheryl Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit more about yourself. You have fibromyalgia and chronic pain and chronic fatigue, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't have the chronic fatigue as bad as in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's probably due to things that I learned along the pathway.
Like what?
Well, I learned to watch how much time I was taking doing different things during the day. And I also started to make sure that I was going to bed at a specific time as much as I could every night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the beginning days, it was very difficult because I was a single parent of my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in such bad condition that I was barely getting out of bed or barely getting off the couch.
Well, so it just kind of zaps the strength away from you, so that you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, both the pain can do that as well, but the chronic fatigue is even worse. It feels like something's just been totally sucked out of you, and you just barely have enough energy to open your eyes.
Yeah. Does the pain and the fatigue kind of go hand in hand, or at least for you?
Well, what I have found with all the people that I've talked to over the years, including what I experienced, usually right in the beginning, both are there together.
Mm-hmm.
And some days you can be better than other days. There's some days, for example, that a person with this could stand up for 10 minutes, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stand up for 20 minutes or an hour at another time.
Right.
It's quite difficult to explain the pain, and sometimes the easiest that I can think of is to say to someone, when you have sliced your finger with a knife, do you remember that of that pain? And then imagine that literally from head to foot, like a lightning going through your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't stop. It's just there.
Yeah. So, with all that, what does your daily routine look like?
Oh, it's totally different now than in the early days. Totally different. I think I can actually get more done these days, but that's because it's been almost 30 years since it first really appeared in my body. I was lucky that where I live here in BC, I had a fantastic doctor, and because I'm of the mind frame that I am, I would do what I could to either get myself down to the library or get somebody else to bring me a book from the library. And I was researching. And so about 3 years into it, my doctor just looked at me and said, I really, really appreciate the way that you are. I love all this information you've brought to me. He had been talking with other medical people. And so basically, fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue was what I was diagnosed with. And we actually introduced it to the entire South Okanagan because nobody at the time knew of it.
Well, that's a pretty interesting thing that it took you researching it and bringing it back to your doctor and him asking around about it before they could come up with a diagnosis. It must have been a frustrating process.
It was very frustrating, and here's another way of a description I was given in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
A locum doctor that I had said to me, let's measure pain on the ruler. 12 is the highest. That's where most with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue are at.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on top of that is putting you at 14. And he literally said to me, you know, in the old days, people like you would have been thrown away in the sanatorium. And that's where you stayed till you died. That makes a person gulp.
Yeah, that's. I've heard stories like that from older people, elders in our community, where the doctor couldn't explain the reason for the pain or the condition, so they decided that the person had to have been crazy. We're just going to use that word because we use better words for mental illness now than crazy. But when you take somebody and you just throw them away into a sanatorium, which we could describe now as a forever prison that has a indefinite life sentence to it, that would be. That would be what they would do before we discover better ways of treating people, right? So
that's right.
Right. So what?
So 2 to 10%, and probably it could be higher now, mm-hmm. because this is from the WHO that was published in 1992 about fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. 2 to 10% of the general population have fibromyalgia. It is 2 times more common than rheumatoid arthritis. It affects all age groups, mm-hmm. all children, all racial, ethnic groups, and all socioeconomic strata. But it's most common between the ages of 35 to 80. Wow. Now then, the other question that always comes up is, how come more females get it? Well, that's because the females generally have a more flexible and delicate skeleton, longer necks, and thinner, less massive muscles than the males. So this makes the females more prone to neck and spinal injuries. Mm-hmm. So also the sacroiliac and pubic joints have had their ligaments stretched during pregnancy and childbirth, which makes females less stable and more prone to lower back injury. And females have less tolerance for pain than males.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would thought it would be the other way around. Childbirth, sorry. all joking aside, it's like the Carol Burnett description of the pain of childbirth, having your lower lip pulled over top of your head. I don't know too many guys that can hack that. And then go back and ask for a second kid. No, it just wouldn't happen. But so it sounds like you've massed a lot of information. Is this the reason why you wrote the book? Why did you write the book?
Well, I always had a highest grade in English in school. And by 2010, I had volunteered at 2 major nonprofits here, one which was a specific disability organization that sadly closed in 2001. And during those volunteer years, I wrote many reports as well as public speeches for my stage times. So because of being at the library, being on computer, learning more, I was quite sure that there had to be a number of people in the South Okanagan that had this. And so in 2001, I founded and then was president of what we called South Okanagan Fibromyalgia Association, or the short name, SOFA, because that's where most of us ended up. And so after speaking to many hundreds of persons in person and on the computer, I began to realize how nice it would be for both persons with the condition as well as family caregivers or others to have a daily book to help them get through the days, which one can only do one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've all heard that term, one day at a time. And when you're dealing with an illness such as this, that comes right to the forefront.
Right.
So due to a more formal course in writing that I'd taken at the Okanagan School of the Arts, my mind frame was getting more into the formal actions of possibly becoming an author. So I did research as I was taught, and it showed a need for the fibromyalgia chronic fatigue daily reader that I began to have in my mind. So given when the illness first hits a person, happenings, and then the learnings of living with the illness, that's the reason that I entitled the book Blue Highway, Sunshine Route. And then, of course, the subtitle for those with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So when you're on that path, then you need to choose an author name. And because of divorce that I'd been through and such, I thought, I'm just going to use my first and middle name, Sheryl Ann. And my name Sheryl is with an S, so that makes a difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, having used my Art Center learning, the initial book was put together by a U.S. publisher, and I received my author copy to completely go over. And life with the fibromyalgia, still running the SOFA nonprofit, etc. The complete go-through of the book took well over 6 months. Then I went on a visit to the Art Center with excitement to show them the copy of the book, and I was met, surprisingly, with advisement that the author world had changed to self-publishing, and that's the direction I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's time taken to study into self-publishing, my realization of when I would hold that original put together of the full year, it was too heavy. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's too heavy for people with this illness or even somebody that would just be reading to them. So that was caused me to break the book into the 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. And then you need to find a book cover artist. These are all things that take so much time. Yeah. And so it took to summer 2015, and I finally got the original of my spring and summer books onto Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. Now, what most people don't know is that it's free for an author to put your book on Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to put it on Amazon.ca, that costs money. So even though I had initially done that, I had a situation happen to me that's just too much to get into that affected my provincial disability. And I had no money for marketing, no money to pay the credit card, money, the big wall for the disabled. So I kept journaling and other writings, like a poem that I put in the spring book. Keep on learning what I needed and wanted to, one day, one step at a time. And it was end of the year 2019, and because of new learnings that had to do with changes on Amazon, because KDP joined with Amazon, so now that made it that a person could also put up ebooks.
Right.
End of the year 2019, I had all 4 seasons in ebook up, all 4 seasons in print book, and then March 2020, KDP contacted me and said there was something wrong with the inside of the print book, and they gave me some specifications, and I think I had like Word 2016 at the time, and sadly nothing that I did would make a difference, and every time I tried to upload it, their system would say, no, this is wrong, that's wrong, the other thing is wrong. Well, all of a sudden, September of 2020, I went to contact Microsoft, and they had a big notice on their site that said that if anybody wanted to get help with Microsoft, Word, Excel, etc., that you had to purchase the 365 update, and if you didn't, you would not receive help. So gulp, gulp, scratch up some dollars, do that. Then I had some other technical problems. I was using a 2013 MacBook Air, and I was having continuous challenges with it. And so because of that, and because of the easiest way I can put it is differences between the Word 365 and any of the templates that KDP has for Word and putting the interior of your book up. That's why it took so long, and that's why only just the other day, it was actually the day after May 12, International Fibromyalgia Day. It was the day after that the print book was finally showing properly. The day before, the ebook was showing, and the ebook is $2.99, and the print book is $10.
Right.
Now, all along my way, I found out about and joined up with the Fibromyalgia Wellspring Foundation that Sheryl Young started.
Yes,
so
Cheryl with a C this time.
That's right. And that's our little joke that we have, the two Sheryls. Yeah. And so I'm going to be giving 10% of the book sales to that foundation.
Yeah.
I'm right with them. I'm so happy with the things that they're doing. When I found out that they were, doing fundraising for special housing for people with fibromyalgia, that brought big tears to my eyes. I thought that was pretty wonderful.
Yeah, I believe they have at least one operational house in Langley, BC.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more on the way.
There's more on the way.
Knowing Cheryl.
Well, her and I are kind of similar that way, because that very first disability nonprofit that closed in 2001, I was the head of fundraising for them.
Yeah.
So there are things that I do know about fundraising, and Cheryl's doing really fantastic things.
Yeah. We're a big supporter of the Fibromyalgia Wellspring Foundation here at Depictions. So we even walked across British Columbia into Banff, Alberta with them. So yeah, that was 2016, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, other specifics that can happen with the illness, like if anybody saw me, I used to be 5'10", but because of what the fibromyalgia and 2 other pain conditions I have did to my body, I shrunk 2 inches. But I'm still tall and exceptionally long-legged, and I walk with an older 4-foot cane for the most part. I was given in 2017 a walker, but the current apartment building I live in has 7 steps to the landing that my apartment is on, and it's just too difficult for me to get down the stairs. I can't get it down and up.
Yeah.
I'd have to have somebody do that for me.
So, you did mention something about BC disability, and that being a published author had a bit of an effect on that. What kind of effect did that have?
Well, a person has to be careful because you're only allowed to make X amount of dollars per month or for the full year. And for every cent that you go over top of that, they take that off of your disability check.
Right. So they essentially, whatever if you go over a certain amount of money with your book sales, they claw it back off of your disability.
That's right. That's right. But I'm not going to let that stop me. I've had some people say that I should stay within that boundary, and I just decided, no, I've got plans for my life, and, there's steps that I'm taking, and I'm going to continue going forward.
Yeah. What kind of steps are you taking to actually market the book and really get it out there?
Well, part of the marketing right now was just basically letting those that I know on Messenger and otherwise know that it was out. Naturally, letting Sheryl and the Fibromyalgia Wellspring Foundation know, so they'll probably put something about it in their newsletter. And then I'm slowly building an online business for myself.
Okay, so you're turning it not only just to be a book, but you're turning it into a business. Cool. So, while that's going to be really important information because there are more people like you who have a disability, and believe it or not, disability in a lot of cases that I hear, they put a limitation, and if that person goes beyond that limitation, they do whatever they can to beat them back in the other direction. I just want people to hear that there's at least one person is looking to move beyond that, and the steps you're taking. But I also want to let's get some of the content of the book out there. Some of the things that people might read in there. So
okay.
So why don't we talk a little bit about what's it?
Well, here's a poem that I wrote in the book. Blue highway, sunshine route. Which way is it? I'm stuck in my coop. One day backwards, one day forwards. Fibromyalgia, comfort contrite, chalacia, confusion complete. Blue highway, sunshine route. Which way is it? No one seems to know. Research continues, details still unknown. One day I'm happy, next day I'm sad. One day backwards, next day forwards. Never the same, just hanging like the cat in the poster. Where's the answer? Who really knows?
Wow. This is a lot. It does say a lot.
But that's the way that it is.
Yeah.
Like I said to somebody the other day, when I say that I'm taking one step each day to move forward, depending on how my health is on that day, I could literally maybe, I don't know, write a few lines or quickly look up a couple of things, and maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other days that I could, be researching or taking steps to build the online business and work for 4 hours at it.
Yeah.
So in each of the books, to help people, I put a couple of pages about what is fibromyalgia, what is chronic fatigue, and then a letter to those that don't have it to help others to understand. And then one of the things I chose to do in the book was to find some sort of a quote for the top of the page for that day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's some days that, there's something said about an aspect of the illness, but for the most part, I tried to keep things on the upbeat, because that was the purpose of this, was to give people something that would take their mind off their illness. So June 20th, for example, is, did you know that Garfield the cat is born today?
No.
What you really need is something to make you laugh, and Garfield is here to do it. Yes, our beloved Garfield comic strips had their first public appearance on today's date in 1978. So let's see. That makes Garfield 31 in 2009. Garfield, the comic strip created by one John Arbuckle, named after his grandfather. Common themes of this comic strip we all, especially those of us with FMME-CFS, can relate to are laziness, obsessive eating, the hate of Mondays, and dieting. Hey, just a minute, you say. Well, isn't it true? People who don't understand our illness think that we're just lazy. And anytime we're eating, they think we're being obsessive. And who, I ask you, who likes Mondays? As far as dieting, I give up. Garfield was based on the cats that John had around him growing up. And so I say a little bit more. But that's just an example of, giving somebody something to make them smile, make them feel better inside themselves for that day.
Yeah. I think that bit about Garfield would make anybody perk up anybody's day.
Yeah.
Well, who doesn't love Garfield, right?
Right. That's right.
Oh, so yeah. The book is there to inform, but also entertain and lift people's spirits, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's more than one book, because I didn't have the money to put the 4 seasons of the books in a nice little, box that would hold them. I didn't have the money to do that. So I had to just list each book separately. And so when one goes to Amazon and puts the entitlement of the book and Sheryl Ann, then it comes up and it'll show them both the ebook and the paper book, a little bit of a description. So there's a spring book, summer, fall, winter. And each book has a different book cover on it, representing the time of year.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question because Métis leads back to First Nations and Indigenous people and everything. Are you inspiring other women in that Indigenous community to move forward with their lives and do great things like you?
Yes, and it's been done in more ways than just my writing, because for 10 years I was a woman's advocate at it was called the Women's Center, now it's called Access Center, so they can serve both sexes. And for 5 years I was a Métis rep on the board of directors over at the Uknakani Friendship Center. And that center has been so wonderful for both me and others that I've interacted with. Mm-hmm. For example, elders down there that would see what I was doing, because I'm a caring, empathetic person, and so I was always helping somebody with something. And so they gave me the name Métis Angel. So that was pretty special to me, and so I have that in my business name. I'm calling my business Métis Angel Artistic Muse, and that's because I hope to put a few different areas together so that I can help others to write or do some speaking, and maybe even help them in singing, because all three of those areas are my born with me talents.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one last question, because we're going to run out of time, and then after you answer the question, tell people the best ways to get a hold of you. What does it mean to you to live a great life?
I think that it's very important, and it's something that I treasure. Along the way, there's a statement that I keep hearing, and I treasure it because it's something that I'm growing into, I admit. Disability is poverty living. I've lived in poverty too much of my life. So when I hear people online and on television making the statement that life is about the happiness from inside you, that it's not about the money, and that the happiness that's inside of you is going to bring abundance of different kinds. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason that I got down to soul purpose with my own self, and knowing that the writing, the speaking, the singing are my born with me talents. And I think that there's people out there that either don't realize what their born with them talents are, or they may have set them aside to do the common thing of that we all get pushed into. Come on, go to school, go to college, go to university, and become a such and such something.
Yeah, you go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and be a productive citizen with a good career, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does any of that sound true to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
because of jobs that I had right out of high school and right up to shortly before moving out to British Columbia, mm-hmm. I had government and whoops, are we done?
No.
Okay. I had government and other path secretarial jobs, and my last secretarial job was working for a criminal lawyer in Calgary. She became a criminal judge, and she took me with her as her top gal.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
So, what are the best ways to get a hold of you and to get the book and?
Okay, to get the book, people just go to Amazon.com. put the book title and a comma and then Sheryl Ann in the search, and it will bring it up. And they can email me at mayteangel7@gmail.com.
Okay. All right.
Now I also have my my Métis Angel Artistic Muse business page up at Facebook. I don't have anything on it yet, but I do have an Instagram page. And under my full name, Sheryl Ann Wilson, I have a YouTube page. And that has an older black and white sample of my singing and speaking.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Sheryl. And it's been a real pleasure having you, and also realizing, hey, where it is that we actually probably ran across each other's paths.
Yeah.
And I hope that the book sells. And you just can't keep enough in the Amazon system for them to keep selling. I hope that you keep selling out over and over again. And please, everyone, do go to the Métis Angel Artistic News Facebook page, or check out Sheryl Ann's YouTube page, and of course, get the book at Amazon. It's going to be a wonderful read, whether you have fibromyalgia or not. There's some uplifting things in there, just to inspire life for the day. So, thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Michael. Blessings your way. Namaste.
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.